Hello, people. Perhaps you prefer me to dispense with the music. I don't mind. I don't exactly want to waste your time. One person now watching. Two. So, I certainly don't want to annoy you if you find the music annoying. It's just showing you what I've learned on OBS. So let me know your views about my playing the intro. But on this occasion, I thought I'd dispense with it. I know that I initially called this stream my week in review, and then I thought, I do want to talk about something really, and maybe being more specific about something attracts more people to come and listen to me, or perhaps it doesn't matter. I don't know. Why do I change the title? Because I think it's important in concentrating my mind. After all, yesterday I was talking to Jen, and she was saying, I don't want to have you derail the conversation. And I said, look, it's really easy. What you do is you start a stream, give it a title, and stick to the subject of the title. And she seemed particularly outraged at this very simple solution that I proposed. Perhaps she was angry that she hadn't thought about it, or she didn't. The purpose of her streaming was really not to talk about specific things, but to give a general impression. Now, I have a different agenda, of course. I do want to talk about specific things, and I don't mind how I give it to you as long as you get it. So, if something needs to be broken down, hello, culture bearer, who is saying doom. Is that a threat? I don't know. I mustn't read the chat because I get distracted, don't I? So, back to subject discipline and giving knowledge and wisdom to people in bite-sized pieces. I think it's important in order that the information you wish to convey is absorbed. And what is the information I wish to give to you? And who am I? One of the things you might have noticed is that I changed the title from Claire Call's Week in Review to On Being Chosen. So there is a certain topic looming up now, and I think it's appropriate for Sundays because Sundays are traditionally known for sermons in the West, even though few people now are in fact churchgoers or Christians. And that, I'm saying, is the root of Western decline. The lack of a morally functioning religion. What do I mean by morality? I mean by morality the ability to adhere to the rules of the moral system. What are the rules of the moral system? Well, in Christianity, it is not clear at all. What, therefore, are the minimum moral standards of any moral standard, of any moral system? This, I suggest, is the rule to marry before having children. So, The importance of this rule is that marriage is eugenic and bastardy dysgenic, and the phenomenon of increasing degeneracy and stupefying levels of stupidity is precisely because of the problem of degeneracy. Now, people don't know. What I'm trying to say is degenerates don't know they're degenerate. They don't even know the meaning of the word, and if you try to explain it to them, they will either not understand or they won't. They'll pretend not to understand, or they'll refuse to understand. So what is the problem of degeneracy? It's a problem of getting stupider and stupider and worse and worse, and from generation to generation without any possibility of correction. What would correct it? Of course, the way of correcting it is to leave the path of dysgenics and return to the path of eugenics. What is eugenics? Eugenics is the policy of trying to bring up the next generation to ensure that they are at least better than the current generation or equal, at least equal. And if there is a problem of degeneracy, you would seek to address it, or at least your government would, but I don't see any signs of it. And so what I'm saying is that any religion worth its salt would in fact be supporting the practice of marriage before having children, and none of that is being done at all because the West is now a degenerate matriarchy, and you wouldn't expect a degenerate matriarchy to uphold minimum standards of sexual morality, i.e. that of marrying before having children, and really not caring about the parenting of the next generation. Why is the parenting of the next generation important? Because obviously, if you believe in promoting the quality of the next generation, not only do you have to select the other parent of your legitimate offspring properly, you would have to care about the parenting of them, and of course the education of them. And currently, public education, as they say it in America, or state education in the UK, is egregiously bad. But since most people don't marry and don't have children, more and more people are not really interested in ever lowering standards of education and ever lowering standards of behaviour, including standards in academic standards in academia. In the UK, we have discovered to our horror, or perhaps resignation, that A-level results are once again being diluted. I should read this for you. So this is A-level results in maths. Grade boundaries, here we are. Oh, it's actually very complicated, and it's sort of, yes, in some ways standards may have slipped because the pass mark is much lower. The mark that you're supposed to get an A is much, much lower. So what we know, okay, the Daily Express explains it most simply. I know I'm digressing, but I'm kind of setting the scene by talking about things I've been talking about before to get my mind into gear. So it says A-level boundaries leaked report shows getting half answers wrong will get you an A. So I think, very soon we will get smarter overseas parents saying, well, don't even send your children to the UK because you'll have spent all your money on their university education and they'll come back stupider with their minds filled with Western propaganda that will destroy your civilization. So don't do it. Do not do that. Do not spend money to make your children stupider than they already are, at huge expense to yourself. Is it just you, Culture Bear? Or is everybody sleeping in America or too busy in the UK? What about people in Australasia? And so, I am in fact addressing a very pressing problem that all the political classes are busily ignoring because they are more interested in hiding the failure of their policies than in correcting past mistakes. And so, minimum standards must be set and universally acknowledged, or at the very least propagated. Minimum standards of morality, for religions. So, out of the 5 world religions, we can see that from their scripture anyway, that they are supposed to support the practice of marriage. And so we may gauge the success and failure of these respective religions on their ability to, on the ability of the adherents to reproduce themselves in wedlock. And if they can't even do that, then something is wrong. As you know, I don't bother considering the non-Abrahamic faiths because I don't think they have amounted to much, really. We already know that China, the oldest empire in the world, rejects Buddhism as part of its tradition because it sees a kind of dichotomy in statecraft as your political ideology and mere religion for stupid people, in its eyes anyway. So it's basically saying, well, statecraft is statecraft, political science is political science. We're not going to be tying ourselves down to some religion that doesn't reflect our traditions, or is seen as being particularly successful in other countries. We're only going to adopt what the ones that we ourselves see as successful. So it is interesting, isn't it, that the Chinese tolerate Catholicism because it's it's a kind of imprint of the former success of the West when it spread Christianity around the world through its imperialism. So that the Spanish started it by spreading Catholicism, and then when the Spanish declined as an empire, the Wasps took over and spread Anglicanism. So there you have the history of Christianity as it was spread around the world, first through Catholicism, and when the Spanish declined, through Anglicanism, and so you can see the power of the church and the way it rode into town on the coattails of Western imperialism. So it's good to understand how the system works. Buddhism, as far as I know, got into China. You know quite a few Chinese people who are Buddhists, but because Chinese statecraft have been self-consciously elitist, shall we say, it always said, well, yeah, you can do your idolatry, peasants. We don't care as long as you're not going to be revolting. As long as you're not going to be revolting peasants, you do your religion, you practice your idolatry, and we're not going to let any idea that threatens us impose. It's kickstart itself off, but every now and then they're not successful. Particularly with regard to Marxism. So when in the beginning of the previous century, when everything was crashing and burning in China, when its Qing dynasty was failing because it was headed by Shiji, the Dowager Empress, who controlled everything but wasn't particularly learned, shall we say, and was subject to her feminine emotions and her tendency to be controlling and anyway, her son was no good, and her husband was no good. So the story of the fall of the Qing dynasty is the most eloquent reminder that however high you are, however mighty you are, you're going to fall if you insist on using the wrong methods of choosing your next national leader. And so you might think, it doesn't really, so it didn't work for the Chinese, but we're not Chinese. But then I'll have to invite you to look at, other ancient empires. India comes to mind. There ain't no king there now. So I guess their monarchy came and went. So it didn't work for them either. So we must reluctantly, for some, return to the Abrahamic faiths. Now, I find the narratives and theology of these three faiths very interesting indeed. So, with the Jews, the story goes that they left Egypt because they no longer wanted to be the slaves of the Pharaoh, and went to Canaan, where they successfully conquered the occupying peoples and became the dominant tribe and called themselves Israel. For a while they lived without kings, so there will be a chapter that you can find in the Old Testament called Judges. To be honest, I haven't read it. I should, I suppose. But anyway, the story goes that they were quite happy being administered by probably a circuit of judges going up and down the land in Israel dispensing justice. And then they saw around them all these kings ruling them, and they thought, we'll have a bit of that. It's not very exciting not having a leader to lead us, and just having judges going up and down the country dispensing justice. Yes, it's peaceful, but it does seem rather dull to us, and maybe we want to do something else and have a different form of government to see where it takes us. And so God, after saying, are you sure? Do you really want to do this? Kings can be tyrannical and tax you lots and lead you into ruin and disaster in imperialistic wars. And I think they ignored him. But anyway, in the Torah, God sensibly defined the borders of Israel. So he was saying to them, really, that you mustn't go beyond these boundaries, because, well, I've set them for you, and if you exceed the boundaries that I have set for you, it means you are disobeying my laws, and when you do that, ruin and disaster will befall you. I think the inference is pretty clear. I actually don't know if they did or not, so I think it's something to do with the Hasmoneans. I'm not sure. I hope somebody will put me right if I didn't quite get it right. I hope actually half Galician will be coming by, and I hope those of you who know that this is just my fallback channel will kind of let it be known to others who may not know to subscribe to this channel while I await the outcome of my appeal to YouTube. I have good news for you in that there is justice in YouTube after all. One of my videos with Jen that was removed, entitled Church and Entropy, and I did not get round to discussing our relationship with God, that was removed. Well, it has been reinstated, and I wish to give my grateful thanks to the powers that be at YouTube for reinstating my video. I hope that there will be someone there who will keep an eye out on the various disputes on my channel, and I hope they will eventually decide that I am a force for the good, and what I am discussing and trying to debate is meant to be beneficial to the West. I realise that some people may wish to nuke my channel, perhaps, I don't know, and therefore I seek their protection, because I think things will turn nasty if my channel is nuked. Because I don't have control over what people who have seen fit to take my side might do. Rather disappointingly, my channel was threatened in an indirect way. It's a kind of, how would you feel if I did this kind of thing. And I wish to give the threatener the benefit of the doubt and say it was only a hypothetical threat. I would never do that to her. But anyway, the fact that she voiced this hypothetical threat is interesting. I forgive her, of course. I forgive her because I know she was feeling defensive and besieged. And she is terrified of losing her channel. Now back to the state of being the chosen people whose borders have been defined by God. Well, they're not allowed to exceed these borders, and therefore it means that they are not allowed to be imperialists. Does this mean that God disapproves of imperialism? I'm not sure, because he may be saying that Jews can't, but others can. Or is he saying, because Jews can't, nobody else can? We don't know. It's a matter that's open to interpretation. And the fact is, others have. Are they feeling superior and more fortunate than Jews in that they can acquire empire? But when you acquire empire, it means also the possibility of losing it when you misadminister it. We know what happened to the British. We know what's happening to the Americans, who seem to have lost their heads. On the one hand, they deny that they're an empire. On the other, they plot wars. They twist people's arms. They impose regime change on governments that do not subscribe to liberal democracy, which Francis Fukuyama says is the end of history. It's kind of entering liberal heaven, he seemed to be saying. But is liberal democracy entering paradise on earth? Well, ask the Americans, ask the British, ask the citizens of the Western world. Are they happy with the way their nation is being run? I would suggest not. So on the status of being chosen, there are responsibilities and there are restrictions. Do we envy Jews their restrictions? Do we want to be forever fussing about our food and getting rid of our chametz at Passover? Probably not. So, while some of us may envy people with more money and status than us, their money and status, we have to acknowledge that they have restrictions that we do not ourselves suffer from. So unless you, well, they do say, or my headmistress used to say that privileges, if abused, will be withdrawn. So I would suggest to you that it is a privilege to be called chosen, and if you abuse it by only enjoying the privileges and not fulfilling your responsibilities, then you, I guess you will suffer. Because, well, I think God has more or less decreed that it is how he will do things. So anyway, we know that aristocrats suffer. They're always the first to get it in the neck if they get the governance of their country wrong. It is, a warning to not abuse your privileges too much, because then you'll be overthrown. And I think that applies generally to anybody holding any position of status and privilege. Who then are the people with the greatest privilege in the 21st century West? I suggest to you that you can work it out in looking at the demographics and looking at the gender divide. So I think many people will easily say it is women who are more powerful than men in our matriarchy. They have power without responsibility, in the sense that they are privileged, they have protected status in law. They can appear to consent to sex and then subsequently withdraw their consent, and the law will protect them and stop awkward questions from being asked, awkward leading questions being asked of them when they make false rape accusations. Therefore, you can work out from what I've just said that women have more power than men in a matriarchy, and the class of women with the most power would be young women, women who are sexually desirable to men, and they are from, I would say, a quite narrow age range. I seem to remember that in the last French presidential elections that I think it was 85% of women in the 18 to 25 age group voted for Macron, i.e. they would be white, middle class and university educated. I think you know where I'm going with this, don't you? We can extrapolate from France that a similar demographic applies to the West in general. So in America, the most powerful demographic would be the female sex. We know it is the female voter who is always being solicited for votes by both political parties, the Republicans and the Democrats. Men will in fact be ignored. Their preferences will be ignored in the mania to attract the female vote, and the ones who want to promote male interests or the interests in particular of married fathers struggling to bring up their families, they would be terrified of alienating the female voter. So this is really the problem of the West, in that legitimate interests are being consistently ignored on a long-term basis. And this is what I'm saying is responsible for the gun rampages that are happening, not just in America now, but also in New Zealand. Where there is a female Prime Minister who is an unmarried mother, the most conclusive sign of matriarchy. And because the global matriarchy is nervous, it is always looking over its shoulder, terrified of questions, especially leading questions that it doesn't know how to answer because really it isn't particularly bright. And because it isn't particularly used to defending its supremacy, because it has never been questioned before. Those of you who have been following my streams will know that a certain person has been objecting to the kind of questions I ask her. I don't. I think questions are a very powerful way of making a point, because they're very clever. Yes, I know. It is the power of the leading question. In law, there is a species of document called the interrogatory. It is a way of fishing out information from the other party. I've never actually drafted one, but the broad principle of it is known to me. So, obviously the question can be a little dangerous. You may have seen in courtroom dramas how lawyers in court would be standing up. In America they'd say, "Objection!" And in English legal dramas it would be, "My lord, my learned friend is leading the witness." Jen has objected to the kind of questions I ask her. Do I mean them to be leading questions? I don't even think I do. When she says something and I don't quite understand, I would ask the first question that popped into my head. And if she doesn't like them, sadly she will accuse me of asking a leading question, because really leading questions are not questions that whose answer are yes or no. They're also questions that can be apparently open questions, like when or how or which, where and why. So if interpreted as hostile by the questioned, then everything is a leading question. But I know she doesn't want me to challenge her ideas. And this is disappointing, because she does say a few interesting and controversial things, and I wish to question it, and she doesn't wish her ideas to be questioned because she accuses me of misrepresenting them and lying about them. And though I say, well, if you don't agree with anything I say, then you could. There are techniques of dealing with leading questions. There are. And if you can't, you can simply contradict the person and say, what you say about me ain't true. But she refuses to put herself through the inconvenience of answering my questions, which is of course her right. But then when you see an entire political class doing that, you should be put on notice that something is very, very wrong. Why won't they even answer our questions in the free West? I don't think, though, that anyone is asking them any questions. I think I'm the only one. And my channel apparently is being threatened with being nuked by people who don't want me to ask questions. I would suggest that they are people in the most powerful group, the most powerful demographics, the most powerful female demographics. Jen is slightly older than 25, but I think she still fits in because she is, as I've said before, passably attractive, and she's certainly passably attractive to men, and in this way she retains this power over the minds of men. I am, of course, old and ugly, and have no power over men at all, or do I? Because obviously I don't put myself about or put makeup on before I stream, and I don't let you see me while I stream because, well, frankly, it's not a pretty sight. And I just don't want to be putting on makeup to talk to you, because I just feel stupid anyway, and I would lose to the younger, more attractive female, and I would just look foolish for even trying to compete with them. So I can only compete in the field of ideas, and I like to think leadership qualities. As you know, I have declared myself the leader of the alt-right, and nobody at all has seen fit to wrestle the crown away from me. And it was pointed out to me that by, I think it was George Neal and Jefferson Lee, that I can have it for all they care. It was a worthless bauble, and that they wouldn't want it themselves. But I think they're being a little disingenuous here, because of course the alt-right means the dissident right, and the dissident right includes Trump supporters who are now despairing of him and democracy. So I think I represent potentially this enormous demographic who is subject to the tyranny of this most powerful female demographic, which I think Church of Entropy represents. Is she behaving in the way that they all are? I fear that she is. Isn't she? I'll look at chat now. Thank you, Mark Ellis. No, it's not self-pity. I am trying to make a point. Allow me to make a point. No, actually, this dream is about not just the Jews, but I think on a certain person who has been chosen to represent an archetype. So I predict more complaints from this chosen woman, because she'd say, well, I didn't choose this. I don't want to talk to you. But then, why is she calling herself theocratic dictator? Why is she calling herself cult leader and then saying she's not cult leader? Clearly, she was calling herself cult leader. She was even calling me a cult leader. And I said, look, Jen, I'm not a cult leader. I don't want to be a cult leader. A cult suggests that it's some fringe religion, fringe sect hoping to become a religion, and I'm actually not about being a religion. At the most, I represent a school of Sharia for the agnostic Westerner who wants to restore the patriarchy. And these are complicated ideas, and I do want to discuss them, and I do want to discuss them to my most worthy opponent, Jen Sharp. I'm afraid I still can't find anyone more powerful than her, because she represents the most powerful demographic group in the West. Yes, I could be talking to people like OV, but I don't think he commands sufficient status. I could be talking to Jay in the stream. It's like, who can I be talking to? I actually wanted to be talking to people like E. Michael Jones, but he won't talk to me because he knows my views on the Trinity and the idolatry of Christianity. So I'm unlikely to be talking to any Christian theologian. As for the Muslims, well, there's Amanda, but she's not talking to me either, because she's a married, respectable woman, and married, respectable women don't talk to me, do they? They're too keen on their dignity and their status, and probably they would be forbidden by their husbands from engaging. So, you're all useless to me, really. So I'm left with Jen Sharp. And then you'd say, oh, you have to leave her alone. No. She declares herself to be theocratic dictator, and then she's saying, well, I'm not theocratic dictator anymore, but I still want to call myself a theocratic dictator, but I'm not going to talk to you. So what is her position now? Now, if you can find somebody that you can persuade me is higher status than Jen Sharp to debate with me. After all, she calls herself the greatest debater on earth. Did she not? Or I don't know, in Canada, in wherever? But she doesn't want to debate with me. So, can you find somebody better? People in the chat? People currently not in the chat? Who can I talk to? Duvid? He's actually said he doesn't want to debate with me. He, the brain box of Judaism, apparently. He won't debate with me. So who can I debate with? Kevin Michael Grace? He doesn't want to talk to me. Now, my political campaign depends upon me debating with ever higher status people of moral and intellectual respectability. Now, who is that? Who is greater than Jen Sharf in our circles? Does this mean I've won the fact that she says, I won't debate with you, Claire? There is no dignity winning a debate against people like Jay. I don't even know if he still understands the difference between valid and sound arguments, and, very disappointingly it seems that Jen didn't know what it was either, or she confused the two yesterday. If you want to hear it, there it is. So, it would be nice if you can find me somebody else to debate with. Jen, can you find somebody else to debate with me if you don't want to do the job? And if you can't find anyone, I'm afraid the burden falls on your shoulders. Unless you're going to say, okay, Claire, I give up my claim to be theocratic dictator. I give up my claim to be the best debater in the world. Then okay, I'll say, all right, I'll have to find someone else. I have to leave you alone because you've conceded that I've won the debate and you don't want any more conversations with me because you don't want to feel that I've won the argument every time I speak to you. But this is the only way to propagate the message that I am trying to propagate. I'm sorry that I've upset you, but let me tell you this, there is no relationship I'm not prepared to sacrifice to make my point. And that includes you, Jay and Jen, who have so much in common, though you hate each other. And next I want to go on to the topic of Rabbi Sachs's sermon on why the Jewish people are so small. It's interesting because the final paragraph makes a very clever point. It kind of grabbed me by the throat, and maybe it doesn't with you people, but it did me. So he says, this small people has outlived all the world's great empires to deliver to humanity a message of hope. You need not be large to be great. What you need is to be open to a power greater than yourself. It is said that King Louis XIV of France once asked Pascal, the brilliant mathematician and theologian, to give him proof of the existence of God. Pascal is said to have replied, Your Majesty, the Jews. What did he mean by this? This can only mean that God protects his chosen people. And that is why they have outlived all the world's great empires. In order to deliver to humanity a message of hope. What is this message of hope? Could it be that Christianity and Islam could be considered messages of hope? Well, Christianity and Islam are competing. They are rival Abrahamic faiths. So if the world is to be divided between Jew and Gentile, then it is up to the Gentiles who want to worship the Abrahamic God to decide which religion serves them best. It seems obvious to me that Christianity is idolatry. If you examine the composition, the construction of the doctrine of the Trinity, you will see that is ipso facto idolatry. And this must be the reason why no Christian theologian or activist will discuss the idolatry of Christianity with me. One of Zachary Miller, whom I met through Jen, is an attorney and a Catholic, and so he should be well trained in the art of presentation, and has had ample time to get all he needs to have a conversation on the Trinity. But anyway, he has repeatedly postponed it, and I think he's basically withdrawn from it. And I have anyway said to him that a Sistine Chapel full of Catholic cardinals will not be able to defend the doctrine of the Trinity, and that is why previously they have only waged crusades and conducted inquisitions on people who deny the Trinity. And yes, they would burn them at the stake for questioning the co-equal status of an executed revolutionary. Now, the Quran acknowledges the virgin birth and Christ as another prophet, as the penultimate prophet of God. So you can see that the Quran is a divine version of Trump's Art of the Deal, right? If you read it, if you will only read it, Jen Sharf, you will see that many of its propositions contain implicit bargains you could be making with God. And this brings me back to the Jews. Jacob was renamed Israel. And what does Israel mean? It means wrestling with God. Is this the sole privilege of Jews? I would suggest not. We have God's laws, and we can wrestle with the interpretation of them. Why don't we do that? And why don't we start to do that by reading the book instead of running away and basically talking nonsense? This is the most useful thing that anyone calling himself or herself theocratic dictator could be doing. She has started on it. I know she has started on it because she quoted a whole bunch of Quranic verses in the chat. I curated them. You can find them on my blog. So she has started to read it. I would like her to continue reading it. I would like, and if she doesn't want the job, can somebody else do it, please? Ideally, a person who is legally trained. It would be nice if Zachary Miller could do it too, but I suspect he will not be referring to any non-Christian sources of authority in the foreseeable future. Is this to be considered harassment? I hope not, because if my channel is closed down on some trumped up charge of harassment, we will all know what to think of justice in YouTube. I think I'm discussing something very important, of crucial importance to the future of Western civilization, and if I'm closed down for daring to ask these questions, I think they should be held to pay. I'm not asking much, am I? If you claim to be theocratic dictator, if you claim that your religion is better than another, don't you owe it to yourself, logically and necessarily, to read the scripture of the religion that you claim your religion is better than? Are you not morally, logically obliged to do this, just to say that you've won the argument? And so it seems that all these Christians expect not to fight. I don't mean fighting in any violent sense. I mean enter a debate, engage in debate. You expect not to enter in debate and win the argument. This is what Jen Sharf is doing to me, and by extension to you all. Is this what you want? I'm saying certain questions should be asked and answered. She pretends that they have been asked and answered and she can't be bothered to answer them again. Has she? I don't remember what her answers were. Do you? So, by calling herself theocratic dictator, by claiming she wants a theocracy, she is morally obliged to answer my questions. And if she won't, then I guess I will have to leave her alone. But then she would have to declare herself no longer theocratic dictator and no longer the best debater in the world. And those of you who orbit her, you will have to ask yourself why you are orbiting her. For what purpose? To what end? Hello, Jen. No, I'm not doing another formal debate. Look, this is how it could work. You know what? Let's do a one-sentence debate. Just do a one-sentence once, and you can take any time you want. So I say one sentence, you say one sentence. So you have all the time in the world to work out how to answer my leading questions. So I never said you couldn't contradict my question, the premise of my questions. So you'll have all the time in the world, and actually I'm really, really happy to tell you how to deal with leading questions. So it'll be boring, but it will be written. So, what I propose, Jen, or you can, okay, we will go back to the debate that you claimed you won. And there is my proposition, and there's yours. Do you want me to challenge your proposition, or do you want to challenge my proposition? Let's just confine it to that. You know, I didn't particularly prepare for mine. It just came out almost impromptu. Yours, you said you prepared it as a PowerPoint presentation, so I think you had more than ample time to prepare it. So we can do it by you defending your position or me defending my position. Which is it to be, Jen? Yeah, because I do want to keep referring to that debate, out of respect to you, because you did organise it. You did set all the rules, and I did obey all the rules, and according to your lot, I lost the debate. And I think that particular battleground will be an excellent example for us all to understand the difference between a valid argument and a sound argument. And this is what I tried to do in that stream that you deleted, Jen. So no more tricks. The formal debate is simply this. It's formal enough. If it's written, it's formal. So what are the terms of the debate? Are you going to undermine my proposition? Or do you want me to undermine yours? Which one is it to be, Jennifer Schaaf? Jen is apparently restreaming something. So thank you for coming by and accepting my challenge. So we'll just do a one-sentence debate. So we all, and you can take as much time as you want about it. It should be on my blog, I suppose, or yours simultaneously. So which is it to be? Who is going to be undermining whose position? And then it'll be simultaneously on both our blogs. So it would be Claire says this and Jen's answer is that, or Jen can start off and say her thing and then Claire can question it, and it'll be one sentence by sentence. So everybody can follow, including the morons and the vegetables, Jen. Anyway, people, that stream that Jen deleted, I have the transcript to it. I had the foresight to know, even as it ended, even as I said to her before she ended the stream, don't delete this, Jen. Knowing that she would, and being proven right. So I do have the transcript to it, and you can read it. So, okay, I think the best thing to do is we have to agree who is to start the first sentence. So, to be clear, whoever starts the first sentence is the one undermining the other's argument. So, you can work out tactically, Jen, if you want to be the one starting the first sentence. So the first person to speak, so to speak, is the one undermining the other person's argument. So if Jen wants to go first, she would be the one undermining my proposition. I leave it all to Jen. I just want her to feel comfortable with all the rules. I don't want a long-winded debate taking. She's free to talk about it. It's like, okay, I've said my first sentence or whatever, and then until we get tired. So, and of course you can stream it and even exclude me if that's what she wants. So, Erica, you say don't end the stream. Was there something you wanted to say? Did you want to come on the stream? Oh, yeah, all this sort of... thank you for all your advice about uploading stuff to BitChute. I think, I've wasted so much time already. I just don't want to be doing all that, and nobody goes to BitChute anyway, and I want to be in the biggest marketplace for my my customers, I guess. So to go somewhere else where nobody goes to, there's not much point. And I guess if Jen doesn't respond, I will be the one to start say the first sentence, and this would put her on the defensive. Maybe that's what she wants, I don't know. And then if she never responds, then I guess she is conceding that she is not a better debater than me. I'll even tell you what my first sentence is, okay? I just want you to feel comfortable about doing this. I really do. I don't want you to think I'm tricking you. Was there any reason why you wanted me not to end the stream? Citizen reporter, did you want to come on? Just say. Okay, I'll go to that the transcript of our speeches. The debate with Church of Entropy, everyone said I lost. I'll put it in the chat. Okay, so anybody who's even interested in it will have to look at the first bit of text is entitled Church of Entropy's Case for an Impersonal God. So that would be what I would be undermining. In fact, I did do that in the stream that Jen deleted, and I will post for you the transcript. 3 hours of it. I actually transcribed it. And I don't want to, all that work to go to waste. I did spend many hours over it. And I'm glad because it sort of gave me the chance to see more flaws in Jen's arguments. But, I hope one day she will click again so we can all enjoy it. I thought it was one of our best ones. Jen says, now I will have to address what Jen said. The bit when she said, I'm like a jilted girlfriend. I don't mind if you want to pretend that this is over something else. I don't mind. Others who, they can have it both ways. The point is, we do have a bone to pick with each other, and I don't like the way you delete streams when they make you look bad. I very rarely delete streams, and when I do, it's because they have been deleted for me, or I don't think they're sufficiently high quality and would cause you to waste your time listening to my rubbish. So that would be why I might occasionally delete my own streams. Not because I'm scared of you thinking I made a fool of myself. I know a lot of people think I am making myself a fool of myself over Jan, but I don't care. I think what we are talking about is of world-shaking importance, and we are talking about the ability to distinguish between valid and sound arguments, which actually Jay and Jen were not clear about as recently as yesterday. And we're also talking about the next religion of the West. These issues are of civilizational importance, and that's why, Jen, I'm not letting you go. And if you have any honour and have any desire left to claim intellectual respectability and superiority over me, then you cannot very well honourably disengage from this debate. Can you? I mean, you could say, I don't want to talk to you anymore. I don't even want to talk about the things you want to talk about. I'm only going to talk exclusively about the quantum mind theory and electric universe and all the physics and math stuff that you will have to submit to me because you know nothing of these things. Then yes, then I will just get bored and go away. But if you want to make any political pronouncement, you will have to contend with me and anyone who disagrees with you. I think that is only fair and reasonable. So, anybody want to come on? It's already nearly 80 minutes, me going on. So, you know what? I'm going to stop it. If anybody wants to ask a question that they think I haven't answered, was there anything you wanted to say, citizen reporter, or you just wanting me to keep the stream open so you can talk to someone? There doesn't seem to be any questions in the stream. So I guess on your own steam, citizen reporter, you can talk to whoever you want. Ovi says, I repeat myself. Yes, I do. I know I do. But I have to. I'm glad that Citizen Reporter and OV have made up, because I did hear a rather fractious stream between the two of them, and I know that OV expressed regret at his Wignat associates being so rude to Citizen Reporter, and of course he was right. Church of Entropy says, even Doofit said the stream was a disaster. Which stream are you talking about? Thank you, Jay Walker, for saying that I won the debate easily. But I think at the time you said I lost. I'm not sure what you mean by your previous proposition. And before that, he's talking about me prostituting myself. It has been said that the world's oldest profession is prostitution, and the world's second oldest profession is the politician, is politics. So now we know that Citizen Reporter and Mark Ellis share a common love for Motorhead. Church of Entropy says, your channel has become the trash fire that everyone who has defied me ends up orbiting. You're orbiting me. You have become my moon. Ovi, what? I don't know why you're obsessed with saying that Jen is Jewish. I don't think she is. Even Brundle said he didn't think she was anymore. He actually said it. I forget on which stream now, but perhaps on mine. That was deleted. But yeah, just go and ask him if he thinks Jen is Jewish. Okay, Citizen Reporter, I'll stream with you later. Just let me know when. Maybe schedule the stream, and so I'll know when to come along. You asked me, Citizen Reporter, what the debate is going to be about. It's just going to be a rehash of the one that you moderated. So Jen has not said so far how she's going to do this other debate. It's basically a rehash of the old one, and I basically want people to know the difference between a valid and a sound argument. And basically, really what I want you guys to do is go to my blog post entitled The Debate with Church of Entropy, Everyone Said I Lost. Cut and paste Jen's proposition, cut and paste my proposition, print it out, and go through it using reading it once and then reading it again to pick out what you think are valid and sound arguments. So if you think it is a valid argument, underline it with a ruler. Yeah, I sound so much like a teacher now, don't I? Underline it with a ruler and say V. Look, okay, that's a bit fussy. Just underline it with a ruler, and when you come across a sound argument, underline it twice. And then, when you have finished doing this to my proposition as well as Jen's, you can hand in your homework to me, having numbered the number of sound and valid arguments you can find in both our speeches. That would be really valuable, Jay. Hint, hint. Nudge, nudge. Wink, wink. And yeah, Jen, if you want to do that too, that'd be great. Erica. So this is the objective way of deciding who won the argument, not because Jen's delivery was so much smoother than mine and she had all her friends on the panel. No, no, no. It will be people who have done this particular bit of homework and said, Jen won because her proposition had the most sound arguments. And if you can't find any sound argument in either of our propositions, then I guess we fail to prove our points. Is this clear? Alright, I'll have to end the stream. And I'll play the music too, so you guys can talk to each other for a bit longer. But I'll end the stream now, and I hope you'll do the homework, please, Jay. And Jen, and anyone who cares about the difference between a valid and a sound argument, I think, Jen, you must most certainly do it, because you only yesterday betrayed the fact that you mixed up the two. Alright? So, here goes. I'm going to play the outro. Thank you all for listening. Love you all, including you, Jen.